Hello, guys, and welcome to my talk on entrepreneurship and job creation. So, my name is Derek Fuma. I'm an edupreneur, or I like to call myself an edupreneur. An edupreneur is basically an educational entrepreneur or an educator with entrepreneurial tendencies. So, I'm originally a physics teacher up to A level, and I have entrepreneurial tendencies. So I'm trying to combine my expertise or my experience in education with entrepreneurship. My website is directorfuma.com, and I'm available on social media on all of the icons at the bottom there: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Google Plus, and some that I've not put down there, including Pinterest, and Medium, and other social media platforms. So let's get started. So Zivai asked me to do a talk on entrepreneurship and job creation in the hope that entrepreneurs can also realize that they can create employment. But how can they do that? So that's one of the questions that I'm trying to answer for you in this talk. And also, I'm going to be heavily biased towards what I do, because I think when you talk about what you do, then people can find parallels, or they can find similarities, or they can find how they can apply what other people are doing into what they do. Because obviously we do different things, and it is difficult to prescribe what people should do. But if you talk about what you do, then people can find ways of doing the same in their own context. Okay. So basically, I'm an entrepreneur, or I like to view myself as an entrepreneur, meaning I'm a teacher, an educator, but I also have entrepreneurial tendencies. So my idea is to combine the two skills together so that I come up with something that works for me. Okay. So I'm also a blogger, and I use WordPress, Facebook, I use Medium, and I also use LinkedIn for blogging. But also I use Twitter for microblogging and other microblogging sites. I'm also a podcaster, and I use a platform called Anchor, and also use SoundCloud. I'm working on putting some of my podcasts directly onto the iTunes podcast platform. At the moment, I'm putting content on the iTunes podcast platform through the Anchor platform. And then I'm also a vlogger. Okay, so a vlogger is basically a video blogger, for those who are not aware, but I'm sure most of you will know what a vlogger is. So I use YouTube for vlogging. I use YouTube. I use Facebook, Periscope. I use Instagram, Snapchat for short videos. I'm also a course creator, which means I create courses for a range of skills. Any skill that I have, I can turn it into a course. So I'm just started working on this course creation, and I'm going to start with some physics courses. I'm already thinking. I've already started working out how I can use my skills as a teacher to help students with their question answering skills, because I think this is one area where they struggle a lot, which is why they find it difficult in examinations. So I'm working on that, and I want to specialize on just teaching them skills on how to answer questions, and hopefully that helps them to think. Okay, because a student who can think on the go can be more confident in an examination. And most of my lessons have been based or I've been heavily biased towards questions. I'm also an online seller, so I sell stuff. I use Shopify for drop shipping. I use eBay for stuff that's lying around, or I get some things from auctions around where I live, and I put them on eBay. I also put a lot of books on Amazon, including my own books, because I'm also an author. I recently published 2 books, and I had one that I published about 2 or 3 years ago. So I have 3 books on Amazon. I use the Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing to publish my own books. Okay, so like I said at the start, my main focus will be to talk about what I do as an edupreneur, or as an educational entrepreneur, or simply an entrepreneur. The idea is to produce something, and this is an example of some of the things that I'm doing. I think we can talk about how each of them can be monetized. Okay, so basically, entrepreneurs create jobs, and you guys have to create jobs. But before you can create jobs, you have to create a job for yourself. Okay, you have to be self-employed. You have to be entrepreneurial, and by being entrepreneurial, it means you're able to create something for yourself. Okay, but you can't do everything by yourself. You probably know exactly what you want to do. You have a mission statement. You have a big vision, a big dream. But that dream requires a lot of skills, and some of those skills you might not have. Okay, you might have a few skills, but you don't have all of the skills which are needed for you to succeed, for you to realize that dream. Otherwise, the dream, if not realized, just becomes a nightmare. Okay, so by looking for people who can complement your skills, you are creating jobs. Okay, and you're able to employ someone. But for you to start employing people, you have to start making money. And when you start making money, then you've got that extra money to hire someone to do some of the things you can't do. So the first thing you do is to concentrate on what you know and make sure that it's something that's going to start bringing in some income. And once that has started happening, then you can try to employ people that are going to complement some of the skills that maybe you're not so good at, or that you think may not be a good use of your time if someone else can do it. Okay, so we have to create jobs as entrepreneurs. Okay, entrepreneurship, like I always say, is reverse engineering what the customer wants. But in order for you to reverse engineer what the customer wants, you have to build relationships with the customer. You have to watch and you have to listen. Watch what they do, listen to what they say, build relationships, because people buy from people they know and trust. And the only way to build trust and to be known is to interact with people. So interact with them, watch them, and listen to them. People like to be listened to. And if you listen to them, then they are more likely to become a future or a potential customer for you. Okay. So I talked about reverse engineering what they want and building relationships. And I think the best way to build relationships today is social media. And I think that at the moment, social media is underrated. A lot of people still think that social media is something that you go to when you want to while up some time, or it's some place where you just post or retweet or just post a few things that are going around, and you're separating your entrepreneurship or your business from your social media. I think the word social in social media is what's making people not take social media very seriously. But here is how I'm using social media. Okay, because to begin with, attention is the new currency. Okay, attention is the new currency. What does that mean? It means that if you have the attention of the people, of the customer, then you're able to sell them something. So you need to have their attention first. And social media is a very good place right now for you to get that attention. In fact, social media is taken over television. There are more people on social media now. We are spending more time on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube than we're spending on the traditional radio and television. Okay, so what used to be the newspaper or the magazine is now being published, self-published through WordPress. For example, I use WordPress to publish some of my blog posts. I use Facebook for blogging. I use Twitter for talking to people. I use Pinterest for linking my website or my blog posts or my online school or my online shop. I link that to through Pinterest, and we can talk about how Pinterest works in another talk. Then what used to be the radio is now SoundCloud, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and other platforms that use audio. So basically, Anchor is a platform which is dubbed the Twitter of voice. And voice is very important because, like right now, you're listening and you're also watching. And so it's important. It's just like the WordPress, Facebook, blogging, and also on Pinterest, radio or sound is very important. And in fact, it's one of those things that people can listen to something while they're doing something else, whereas it's difficult for someone to read and maybe drive. Okay, so when someone is driving, they are listening to the radio, and if you have an interesting podcast, someone might be listening to your podcast instead. I listen to podcasts when I'm driving, and I find it a better use of my time than just listening to music, for example, unless if I was a musician and I'm learning from other musicians, then maybe I'll be more inclined to listen to music than to podcasts, for example. Then the new television is YouTube. Okay, you may be watching this on YouTube because I'm going to put it on YouTube. But what I've decided to do is I will keep it private until you guys have watched it. Then I will make it public. So it'll go public on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching the old television. This is actually the new television, and we also have Facebook. We have Periscope. We do Facebook video, Facebook Live. Periscope was bought by Twitter. It's another platform that is basically replacing the old television. We have Instagram, where you can also do live videos. We have Snapchat, where you can also post videos. So all of these social media platforms are giving you the opportunity to turn your attention into currency. Okay, so if you can get attention on all of these platforms, I'm telling you, you're building relationships with your audience, with your future customers. Okay, I left out other platforms such as WhatsApp, which are very good because WhatsApp was bought by Facebook and it's doing pretty much the same things that Facebook and Instagram are doing. Okay, you have WhatsApp stories, just like you have Facebook stories and Instagram stories, and you have Snapchat stories. Okay, so it's doing exactly the same. If you can put on your status, if you can put images of what you're doing, or you can put little videos of what you do, talking about your product or your service, then you are beginning to communicate with your audience, with your tribe, with the people who are likely to earn your trust and therefore buy from you in future. And the problem that most people have at the moment is that they are using social media as distribution channels, okay, or as a distribution channel, meaning that instead of creating content and documenting what they do, they are creating content elsewhere and then just using social media to distribute it, to put it out to the people to say, I'm selling this, or I've written this blog post, and then you just put it on Twitter and on Facebook, instead of actually having a conversation on Twitter and on Facebook with people about your products, about your services, by asking questions, by talking to people, by interacting, creating relationships, which is what you need to do. So instead of creating content elsewhere and just distributing it on social media, you should try to produce native content on each social media platform. So if you're on YouTube, okay, produce content on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, produce content on Facebook for Facebook. If you're on Twitter, produce content on Twitter for Twitter, not to produce something in WordPress and then just pass it around, okay? You still have to do that. You still have to use it as a distribution channel, but not only as a distribution channel, but also as platforms for content creation and for documenting. By documenting, I mean talking about the whole process of your growth as an entrepreneur. It used to be the case that a person will only be known after they have created something, after they have achieved something, after they have become a millionaire. Then people start to try to find out exactly how these people go to the position that they have got to. But now, this is an opportunity for you to document the start, the process, the journey, the story. So that's what people want to know. You are now in charge of your own history, of your own growth, of how you want your story to be told. And social media is giving us that opportunity to be able to talk about our own journey as entrepreneurs. So I like to talk a lot about strengths and weaknesses because I think when we go to school, as we grow up, we are told, or teachers are focusing on our weaknesses because they say, oh, this one can do multiplication. Let's focus on division because that's where he is struggling. But the problem with that is when we focus on your weaknesses, we kill your self-confidence because we're focusing on the things you can't do. Imagine a boy who cannot play football, okay, but is really good at maths. And we're focusing on his weakness in football. And by doing that, we are actually destroying his confidence. Of course, he can try, but it will be better for him to focus on his strength. If his strength is playing chess, for example, let's focus on that. So it's the same thing with business or with entrepreneurship. We tend to want to do everything. I think the fact that we in Zimbabwe, for example, we are educated to a very high level, we find it very easy to understand a lot of things. And so it's easy for us to just focus on everything and get involved in everything that's going around us to the extent that we forget to focus or to double down on our strength. If we could only focus on our strength, we would excel. Michael Jordan is who he is because he just focused on his basketball. Oprah Winfrey is who she is because she just focused on her talk shows. Michael Jackson is who he was because he just focused on his singing. So a lot of these people that we say they are well accomplished are actually people who've only done one thing. Okay, they've only focused on their strength and they've kept on at it. But some of us are trying to do everything at the same time. So you should focus on your strength and then you try to build a team that complements your weaknesses. So your team should be made up of all your weaknesses, of all your weak areas. That's where you build your team. Okay. if you're good at one thing but you're weak in another, work with someone who is strong in the thing where you are weak. Okay, because my strengths are your weaknesses and my weaknesses are your strength. Okay. Then as an entrepreneur, if you don't have a product or a service, you are not yet an entrepreneur. You have entrepreneurial tendencies, but you need to identify a product or a service. For example, I have this book. This is my product. How to write a 10,000 word ebook in 10 days. I released this in July 2017, and in August, I released another book, How I Use Social Media to Tell Stories. Both of these books are on Amazon, and I've published them through the Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing platform. Okay, so these are products that I've made. I'm also making Teachable courses on Teachable, and I'm also doing other things just to be able to have a product or a service. Okay, so without a product or a service, you can't sell, and if you don't sell, you can't make money, and if you don't make money, you can't employ people. If you can't employ people, you can't create jobs. So you're an entrepreneur who is not able to create employment. Okay, so you need a product or a service. You need to identify the product or the service. Then you need to use all of your strength and your skills to make sure that the product or service becomes a reality. Okay, implementing. Doing is the only variable we can control. Okay, so to implement is to produce something like this. When you produce something like that, it means you have been implementing. So implementing is a variable. It's the only variable we control. We can't control the weather. We can't control the tsunamis. We can't control the politics. We can't control where we are born. We can't control the parents we are born to. We can't control there are so many things that are out of our control. But implementing is the only thing that we can control. We have full control of implementation. It's either you wake up at 5 or you don't. Okay, that's implementation, that's doing. It's either you write a book or you don't. It's either you have a product or you don't have a product. Okay, it's either you're doing or you're not doing. Okay, so we need to be able to do things if we're going to be entrepreneurs, even if we were only starting up or we are already halfway through our journey of entrepreneurship. We need to be implementing, and we need to implement every day. For me, implementing means waking up every day and doing those things, okay, that you have planned. Do them every day. Entrepreneurship it's a lifetime process. Okay, you have to be implementing. You have to, for example, I wake up every morning. I wake up at 5 or 6. If I wake up at 5 or 6, the first thing I do, I write a blog post, 1,000 words. Okay, without fail. It's something I do on a daily basis, and now it's become second nature. It's implementing. Okay. After that, I go on social media, and like now, Apple iOS 11 just released or just enabled screencasting. Like now, I'm screencasting on an iMac, okay, using a software platform which enables me to screencast on a desktop. But now you can also do it on an iPad, and you can also do it on an iPhone. Okay, you can do it on the iPhone, on the iPad. You can shoot the screen while you're doing something. So I'm able to make very short videos that I can post on social media because people don't have time. Okay, I talked about attention being the new currency, but so is time. Okay, people don't have time, or people have so much going on social media. You are an entrepreneur trying to sell something to them, but they also have to watch funny videos that are being posted around. So your content has to be compelling if they're going to use their time to watch your content. If they're going to use their time to consume your content, it has to be something special. So that's why you need to think about how you are going to, or what sort of content you're going to create. And the only way to find out what people want or don't want is through implementing. Okay, so you make one video, nobody watches it. You make another one, nobody watches it. You keep try different things until you find out which sort of videos people want to watch. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is that as an entrepreneur, you should have no excuses, no complaints, no expectations. So what do I mean by no excuses? It means that if you're going to implement something, if you're going to come up with a product, stop giving excuses why things are not going to work. Because once you start giving excuses, your mind or your mindset is such that your brain makes sure that those excuses are valid. Okay, that's how the brain works. Okay, I've read a few things on neuroscience, and that's why I like questions, because questions help the brain to think. But if you suggest to the brain that something cannot be done, then it just stops thinking. Okay, it stops thinking about that thing. It stops giving attention to that, because the brain only gives attention to those things that require you to think and find a solution. If all you're giving is excuses, then you're finished as an entrepreneur. You need to stop giving excuses. No matter how bad the situation is, that situation has a solution, and that's why you're there as an entrepreneur. Okay, so the challenges that we face are the opportunities for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are about solving problems. They are about listening to people's excuses. Listen to other people's excuses and solve them. Listen to other people's complaints and solve them. Okay, if someone is complaining about how a phone is not doing this or that, then that's an opportunity for you to build a phone that can do what the customer wants. Okay, so instead of joining in the complaints and the excuses, always use those as your learning opportunity and your chance to make a product or a service that is going to solve that excuse or that complaint. And then the last thing, do not expect anything from anyone. No one owes you a living. Okay, so you need to be able to do as much as you can. Okay, and don't expect anything, because if you don't expect anything, you will never be disappointed. Okay, so we have plans as entrepreneurs, but we don't expect that everyone is going to understand what those plans are, and everyone is going to help you to accomplish those plans. Okay, so you need to be able to get on with, in fact, never plan so that if someone does not come forward, then your plan dies. Okay, it should never be like that. So thank you for listening, guys, to my talk on entrepreneurship and job creation. I've tried to put a lot of things there together for you. Let me know if there are areas where you want more clarification, or if there are areas where things that you think I could have included that I did not include. So my name is Derek Tafuma. I'm an entrepreneur. I've known Zirai for almost 3 years now. And as entrepreneurs, these are some of the things that we do for each other. If you ask me to do something and I can do it, okay, I will. I've actually set up my little studio. I've got a green screen in the back. I've got a big light over here. I've got 2 other lights. I've got a microphone. I'm using ScreenFlow to record the screen. and you will not see the green background because I'm using something called chroma key, which is going to get rid of the green, and just you will see me floating on the screen. Okay, so I'm available at derricktafuma.com. You can email me at dtafuma@gmail.com, and also derricktafuma@derricktafuma.com. I'm also available on Instagram as Derrick Tafuma, at Twitter as Derrick Tafuma, on YouTube as Derrick Tafuma, on Snapchat as Derrick Tafuma, on LinkedIn as Derrick Tafuma, on Google Plus as Derrick Tafuma, on Pinterest as Derrick Tafuma. So you see, I'm branding, and I'm branding my name. My name is Derrick Tafuma, and I'm Derrick Tafuma on all of those platforms. Again, guys, thank you for listening. Maita henyu nepterera. Ngiyabonga ngokulalela. Muchas gracias para escucharme. I'll see you again, hopefully, in another video.